Hi, my name is Kent Maurer, and I've been in the fitness industry now for 35 years. And what I'd like to do with you for the next few minutes is share the most important thing I've learned during those 35 years of learning from some of the most prestigious health clubs and health spas in our country. I've had my own personal training studios. I've worked with some of the best doctors, physical therapists, and nutritionists that our country has ever produced. And what I've learned by far to be the most important thing I can share with my clients and with the world, which has become my mission in life, is that exercise is important, but nutrition is the most important. And when it comes to nutrition, most people got it wrong. We are designed to eat a low-fat, whole food, plant-only diet. And if you could stick around and listen to me for a few minutes, you'll see why. Most people think they've tried everything when it comes to what they put in their mouth. But have you tried oatmeal for obesity? How about supper versus surgery? Peas versus pills? Or mustard green versus multiple sclerosis? Diet versus drugs? It's not your genetics, and it's not your willpower. It's the food. What we're putting in our mouth has been the wrong food for our design. Your health care happens at your table, and your pharmacy is your pantry. The standard American diet, or SAD diet, is the cause of our ill health.
My name is Rip Esselstyn. I'm a former professional triathlete and a former firefighter for the Austin Fire Department. And for the last 23 years, I have eaten a plant-based diet to fuel me as an athlete, as a firefighter, and as a man. And I cannot tell you over the years how many people have told me that is just way, way, way too insane. That's way too radical. I could never do that. And what I want to talk to you today is about why it's really the standard American diet that is so radical, and why eating a plant-based diet has the potential to be absolutely revolutionary, and why it can revolutionize your health and this whole country's health.
When it comes to our health, we've been sold a bill of goods. Because quite frankly, there's no money to be made in health. There's a lot of money to be made in sickness when it comes to drugs, surgery, insurance, and other types of health care. Take charge of your own health. Forget about being reasonable, sensible, prudent, or moderate. You can't do it. You got to fix the food. The answer to Americans' health crisis is the food that each of us chooses to put in our mouths each day. It's that simple. Let's start with our number one killer, heart disease.
Back to Mr. Phillips. Nice fella, but I was impressed with all the fat in his bloodstream. We took Mr. Phillips down to the operating room, and I gave him 1,000 micrograms of fentanyl and put him to sleep, and the surgeon opened up his chest and opened up his aorta and opened up his coronary arteries. And what the surgeon started pulling out of Mr. Phillips' arteries were great, long, yellow, greasy, sausage-like formations of fat that looked like this. What you're looking at is a plug of material called atherosclerosis. And this is the plug of fat that built up in a man's arteries. And when a clot formed here, it stopped the blood flow completely through that artery. And because it happened in this man's right coronary artery, it stopped the blood flow to his heart and bought him a ticket to the autopsy table. This is the number one cause of death of people in North America. Every 30 seconds on this continent, Canada included, somebody grabs their chest and falls over with a heart attack. This is animal fat clogging up the arteries. When you send this material down to the pathologist and you ask him to analyze it, the report always comes back the same: saturated fat and cholesterol. It's animal fat. The pathology report never, ever, ever contains the words remnants of broccoli, rice, and tofu. It's animal fat. The good news is when you stop running animal fat through your bloodstream, this stuff melts away. This stuff will come off the artery walls, and arteries can open up.
Our second biggest killer is cancer, and it's rising quickly.
And so the question of whether we do or don't get cancer, it turns out, is primarily related to not the amount of seeds we may plant or the amount of genes we may have that can give rise to cancer. It more relates to how we fertilize that, how we promote those cancer cells to grow over time. That's where nutrition comes into play. Nutrition comes into play back here too, but it's particularly prominent during this phase. And animal protein, as we started doing the research, we could experimentally, we could turn on the growth of these cells. They go much more rapidly when they were fed animal protein.
Virtually every disease we see today can be traced to what we're putting in our mouth. From stomach problems to arthritis, diabetes, constipation, and obesity. All these diseases have the same thing in common. We're putting the wrong food in our mouth for our design, just like the kings and queens of old did. Human beings have a very small mouth, small, dull teeth, nothing like your dogs or your cats. We have very low acidic stomachs. That's why we're taking antacids all the time. And our biggest key to our anatomy is our intestinal system. We have the longest intestinal system relative to our size than any other animal on the planet. We are not designed to take in chunks of meat. We're designed to take in fiber-filled foods that have a lot of water in them. So our body can break it down slowly, take out the nutrients it needs, and to get rid of the pulp at the end. Simple. It's time to start a new path in life, a new way of eating, a way of eating the way our anatomy is designed, the way we're meant to eat. So remember this, if it walked, hopped, swam, crawled, slithered, or had eyes, a mama and a dad, don't eat it. All these foods, if you want to call them foods, have the same thing in common. They're loaded with saturated fat and cholesterol. Saturated fat and cholesterol is not designed for the human being. We make our own cholesterol. All the cholesterol we need is made from our liver. We don't need to eat it. And along with the cholesterol comes artery clog and saturated fat. Dairy is 70% fat. That fat we eat is also the fat we wear. We wear it on our body and we wear it in our arteries. This includes oils like olive oil. They're not health foods. They're health-harming foods. Without a doubt, the biggest hazard to our health and to the planet's health is our desire for protein and our mindset that we can only get protein from animals, which is absolutely not true. All nutrients originate in plants. If it had a spinal column and a brain and a mother and a father, it could feel pain, and it was not designed for us to eat.
Here's the reality. All life on this earth comes from where? Sun. Every drop of protein is in a leaf. The foods that have the most protein in it are the foods with the most sunlight in it. Again, I'll repeat. This is the most protein-rich diet on the planet Earth. You're looking at somebody that hasn't touched anything but plant-based protein for 40 years.
All nutrients originate in plants, including protein, calcium, omega-3s, and every other vitamin and mineral.
Probably the biggest problem I got getting people to change their diet was this obsession with protein. The more I educated myself, the more shocked I was. More shocked I was that people don't know about this, that other doctors don't know about this, that medical schools aren't teaching this. And the simple fact that a plant-based diet could just change your life and every disease that I treat.
You don't have to starve yourself. You just have to eat the right foods. The right foods have the most nutrition and the least amount of calories, and that's plants. When we stop eating animals, we have to replace them with foods that are satisfying to our desires. And that's what starches do. Beans, corns, pastas, breads, whole grains. Those are the kind of foods that humans are designed to eat. We're starchivores. When it comes to what you can eat on a whole food, plant-based diet, it's unlimited. I've never eaten more food in my life since I switched to a plant-based diet. It's all the same foods that you grew up in, all the same foods that you loved, but they're made without the oils and the butters and the eggs and just a wide variety, a rainbow of food. It's so delicious, so filling, so satisfying. And you can eat pretty much ad libitum, which meaning you can eat as much as you want and not worry about gaining weight. The weight comes from the fat. The fat you eat, again, is the fat you wear, both on your body and within your arteries. Choose pizza without the cheese. Brown rice is super filling, and that's the food that some of the longest living people on the planet have been eating their whole lives. Vegetable sushi is without the fish. Beans are the staple of all the longest living people on the planet. Whole grains, not GMO grains. Burgers made out of grains. Non-processed, without chemicals. Then complement those satisfying starches with a wide variety of fruits and green and yellow leafy vegetables. These have the vitamins and minerals, but they can't fill you up. They don't have the staying power as the starches do. A little nuts and seeds is okay, but not too many. They're highly nutritious, but also high in fat. Avocados are the same, very nutritious, very diverse food that you can use in lots of different ways, but they also carry a lot of fat. Dried fruit has a little bit too much sugar, too much concentrated sugar without the fiber that you got from the original food. Same thing with juices. You want to eat food in their whole form, not in their processed form. Then add a little sugar and spice to make things taste good. That's okay. When you start eating a whole food, low-fat, plant-only diet, for the first time in your life, you're going to be getting all the vitamins and minerals that your body desires, your body needs, including the fiber, which only comes in plants. The only vitamin you'll have to supplement with is B12. And that's not because animals are special. That's only because animals have been eating dirt all their life. And vitamin B12 is a bacteria which originates in the soil.
So again, everyone needs it. Now here's another little interesting point. The people with the highest incidence or largest levels of B12 deficiencies consume the most meat and the most dairy. Now, remember, animals have lots of B12. Why? Because where is their beak and where are their teeth all day long? On the soil. But what do people do? They don't go out and take the animal and drink blood from its neck and get fresh bacteria. Let's thank God for that. What they do is have some rancher somewhere in the world slaughter the animal, freeze it, send it, and then they cook it. Bacteria, as you understand, is heat sensitive. So their bodies, unfortunately, have a neutered form of B12 coming in with the carcasses that they're consuming. The body now assumes that they're getting some level of B12 that is completely unusable, 100% unusable, and that's why they have a higher deficiency level.
To complement your low-fat, whole food, plant-only diet, get out and exercise a little bit. Get a little sun. And to me, the best way to do that is to go hike. I love to get out into nature and to enjoy the beauty of the sights that I see, the smells that I smell, and the air that I breathe. Doctors aren't educated on nutrition in medical school, and definitely not plant-only nutrition. But those who step outside the box and learn on their own discover the power of a plant-only diet. And I love this quote by the former cardiologist president of the United States. There's two kinds of cardiologists, vegans and those who haven't read the data. We are designed to eat a low-fat, whole food diet. Doctors are good at cutting out things and giving you a pill.
We could prevent, tens of thousands of cancer deaths every year if half of the country ate a single more serving of fruits and vegetables, which like prevent 20,000 cancer deaths a year. That's how powerful plants are. People don't understand. Whole food plant-based diet is more powerful than anything we have in medicine when it comes to some of these chronic diseases. An ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure because there is no cure for dead.
A low-fat, plant-only diet is an absolute miracle. It's the only diet that's proven to reverse heart disease, and there are thousands of success stories of people who have stopped or even reversed cancer by adopting a low-fat, whole food, plant-only diet. Former President Bill Clinton was one of those people who stopped his heart disease after multiple bypasses and stents. And don't buy into the paleo craze. It's just another diet giving you the excuse to eat more meat, and all it's doing is setting you up for heart disease and cancer. This video has been dedicated to human health, but our desire for animal flesh has created a whole new problem, an industry that's destroying our planet bite by bite, literally for a hamburger. Animal agriculture is the biggest contributor to global warming, deforestation, water shortage, food shortage, and land shortage, all because of our desire to have a hamburger. We don't need to have a hamburger from an animal. We can have a hamburger from a plant. Cut out the middle animal and eat plants directly. Creating strength and endurance doesn't come from eating a burger or a piece of chicken. It comes from hard work. And a plant-based diet will allow you to work that hard to get that strength that you desire. The more meat that we eat, the fewer people can be fed, because most of that food is going to an animal instead of going to the human. Fortunately, there's a new wave of foods coming on the market, foods that are fantastic tasting, foods that are giving you that same texture and taste that you used to enjoy from a piece of meat or chicken or fish. without the saturated fat, without the cholesterol. Even though I prefer for you to eat whole plant foods, the way plants originally came from this earth, there's some amazing foods out there that are making this transition to eating a plant-only diet much easier. And this industry is growing. Multiple styles of plant-based milks and plant-based ice creams that are delicious. Have the same protein, the same calcium as that from a cow. And no more excuses that, bacon, I love bacon. Well, wait till you try the plant-based bacons that are emerging. And how about an omelet or scrambled eggs from plant-based eggs? Yes, those are incredible. Eating a plant-only diet is the only way to save our planet. It's the only way to leave the lightest footprint possible on this planet. Nothing has to die for us to be healthy. And other countries are realizing this as well, as the Danish Council just recently reported saying that animal agriculture is the biggest climate-damaging food. And the former president of Ireland saying to eat less meat or no meat at all.
To feed a person on an all plant-based vegan diet for a year requires just 1/6 of an acre of land. To feed that same person on a vegetarian diet that includes eggs and dairy requires 3 times as much land. To feed an average U.S. citizen's high-consumption diet of meat, dairy, and eggs requires 18 times as much land. This is because you can produce 37,000 pounds of vegetables on 1.5 acres, but only 375 pounds of meat on that same plot of land. I also learned the comparison doesn't end with land use. A vegan diet produces half as much CO2 as an American omnivore, uses 1/11th the amount of fossil fuels, 1/13th the amount of water, and 1/18th of the amount of land. After adding this all up, I realized I had the choice every single day to save over 1,100 gallons of water, 45 pounds of grain, 30 square feet of forested land, the equivalent of 20 pounds of CO2, and 1 animal's life, every single day.
I'm so grateful that the world is seeing this issue and doing the math and seeing that if the whole world went vegan, we could eliminate millions of deaths and help our planet, and not only our planet, but the ethics and violence in our planet. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger has figured out that a burger's not important as it is to help our planet be a healthier place. As James Cameron says, don't consider yourself an environmentalist if you still eat meat. You want to watch 3 films to get this message. One's Forks Over Knives, the other one's Cowspiracy, and finally Earthlings. For books to read, start with the China Study, the most detailed nutrition study ever performed by T. Colin Campbell, or How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greger, or How The Healthiest Diet on the Planet by Dr. John McDougall. I thank you very much for watching my presentation. I hope it gets you thinking, and I hope you go out on your own and start learning about this plant-only diet on your own accord by watching the films that I recommended or the books I recommend. You can also go to my website, which is called onesingleact.org, and get all the information I've shared with you on this video and study on your own. But it's something that every human being can participate in. Even though we get frustrated with what we see in the news with politics, especially here in the United States, or what's going on in our own neighborhood, there's one single thing that every single human being can do, and that's choose what they eat and choose how they think. And to me, as long as you get the correct information, you can make a very healthy life, a very fantastic life, by choosing the right choices. And nothing, absolutely nothing, is more powerful than a plant-only diet. And it's my goal to see the whole world, every single human on planet Earth, eliminate animals from the menu. I believe not only will be healthier humans, healthier planet, but I think we'll have a less violent planet. I can't help but believe that all the violence that we're creating by killing 70 billion plus land animals, 100 billion plus sea animals every year has to come through in the own violence that we see in our lives, the violence we see in this world. Violence creates violence. There's no doubt about that. Peace on earth absolutely begins on our dinner table. Thank you so much again. Again, go to my website, onesingleact.org, and start studying about this plant-only diet on your own.